Hi, I'm Rosemary Conley, and you're watching the Disruptive Entrepreneur podcast. Oops, not like that. There we go.
Right. Hi, it's Rob Moore here and welcome to the Disruptive Entrepreneur. So I am in the living room of someone very special indeed. She has a CBE, she has the freedom of her city. Right there is a big red book, This Is Your Life, and she is Rosemary Conley. So you're about to see an interview with her in her living room where we discuss, I think she's done 37 books, vast amounts of audio programs in the big three of Slimming World, Weight Watchers and Rosemary Conley. And we go through a whole journey of her life, her career, the ups and the downs. She's done some amazing things and I think you're going to love the interview with Rosemary Conley, CBE. Well, Rosemary, thanks a lot for doing the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
And thanks for bringing us to your lovely home.
Oh, thank you. It's you've come at the best time of the year because it's springtime and the garden is magnificent at this time of the year.
I think it's the longest drive down a drive I've ever had in my life. Full-time gardeners here as well. And
yeah, we do need that.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful, and I think it's the first time I've ever had my husband and I live here. We've had a garden that I just go around every day, admiring and talking to the plants, doing a bit of a Prince Charles. Because they're just so beautiful. And I think about 20 years ago, the people who moved in here, their gardener completely landscaped it. And he must have been a genius because the way he's put it all together is just beautiful and it's good for the soul.
Do you think being around this much open greenery and land, do you think it affects you in a good way?
Very much so. Yeah. I don't think we've ever not gone on holiday as much as we do now because we just love being here. And so that's nice.
So we were talking before the cameras went on and you said you've pretty much been in business now 50 years.
Well, in 2021, I will have been in business. That'll be my 50th year of starting my business.
Am I allowed to say I wasn't even born when you started?
Sure you weren't. I was amazed that you'd even heard of me.
Yeah. Well, my mum did your programs. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that I'm now reaching the stage where people say, oh, my grandma's got your videos, which is really rather lovely. But the nice thing is that those videos and those diet books, people still remember or use them fondly. And they were very effective for them. So it's very exciting. But it was very different at the beginning because if I sort of start right at the very beginning, I left school just before my 15th birthday. No exam results, nothing. I didn't take any. I failed my 11 plus. But so I left, went to secretarial college for 12 months. And then I got a job. £5 a week were my wages. I gave £2 to my mother. I had £3 to live on, if you like. And then I became a Tupperware lady later on in my sort of 20s. And I quite enjoyed that because even though Tupperware isn't sold in the UK anymore, it is something that I still have some Tupperware in my cupboards.
Well, the word's still used, isn't it?
It is.
It's for like a plastic container. That's what everyone calls it.
It's like a generic term now, which is quite interesting, isn't it? And I learned that I was happier to stand in front of people. And I was quite successful at it. I could sell. I did a cordon bleu cookery course when I was first married to my first husband. I was 21. And I learned this cordon bleu cookery course came out in weekly parts. And I did it very seriously and really learned how to cook. And then having produced all these gorgeous foods, I then took them out with my Tupperware so that there was stuff in the containers. And people loved that. And they bought it very successfully. And I became a manager in 6 months, 6 weeks.
Wow.
And that meant, it's quite funny when you look back, I was then given a car. So I was given an Avenger car, we don't even have them these days. And as a manager, I just had to recruit new dealers and what have you. And I was quite good at that. And so all of this, I sort of felt, well, if I could sort of teach people how to be dealers. And if I could sell plastic containers that people didn't really want, they were overpriced, I could certainly sell slimming. And I did slimming and good grooming when I was fairly young, but probably about 18, I went on a good grooming course. That gave me a lot of confidence. I learned how to use makeup. I mean, these days, young people go onto YouTube and learn they look like models when they're sort of 17. But in my day, that didn't happen. It was a bit of lipstick and a bit of powder, and that was your lot. But it was fascinating to learn how to make the most of yourself. And so I along with the cordon bleu cookery course, which I did, I made all this wonderful food. I then ate it, and I put on 2.5 stone, which was...
You've got to try your own stuff, haven't you? That's what they say. Sell something you believe in yourself.
It was quite funny, actually, because my mother wasn't a great cook. And so I suppose I'd been brought up with food not being that important. And suddenly I found this gorgeous food, and I just couldn't stop eating it. And so anyway, the weight piled on, and then my confidence dropped, etc., etc. I learned how to lose weight, learned about calories, learned about slimming. And then I decided that I would start classes with my local neighbours. So my neighbours came into my house, and they, on a Monday evening, would sit round the table, and I designed a diet for them of 1,400 calories a day. And in 6 weeks, they'd all lost a stone, and that was basically the start of my business. And that was 1971.
Wow. So I'd love to come to that in a moment. What's interesting is we were talking about this as well before we put the cameras on, about you asked me why I do this, and I get to meet lots of really inspiring, interesting, different, unique, experienced people, which I love. And I think I'm always looking for what are the ingredients of success. And one of them, I think this maybe a bit of a paradox that a lot of people don't understand, is when people say, I've got not many grades and, haven't really got any qualifications, or my upbringing was quite hard. Actually, that's a common factor in successful people. So you sold early, and sounds like you could sell well early. Is that something you learned? Was that just from your upbringing? Because being a business person, you've got to be able to sell. And it sounds like you had it even without qualifications.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. My father was a salesman, and so I suppose I was brought up in that. My mother as well, she was quite entrepreneurial. So I was brought up with that. She invented what was called a beauty cap. And in those days, we're talking the 50s here, she created a nylon ruched cap that women would go to bed in their curlers and put this cap around and tie it at the front, and make them look more glamorous in bed with their curlers in. And she blooming well made this, designed it, got the local farmers' wives to make it, because she was part of the WI and they were. And then she sold it to Harrods. She went down Harrods, sold it to them. And my friend and I, Elizabeth, and myself would pack these and got 3 old pence per dozen.
Wow.
Of packing them. And that was that. So I if you like, I was introduced to that kind of entrepreneurial flair at that stage. But one thing that I think is very important to my story is that I was actually very poorly as a child. They didn't expect me to live beyond 10 years old. I had asthma, very bad asthma. I went to South Africa when I was 8. I went to hospital when I was 8, 3 months. And then amazingly, somehow I survived, and then found a zest for life and interests. And asthma very much became in the background. I still have it. I have 4 inhalers. And yet it seems ironic that God took this person, this weakling of a child who was going to die, and made them into a diet and fitness guru, which is just hilarious. So it was quite funny. But anyway, I think that's where the sort of flair came from my parents, probably.
That's another common thing, though, I think. A lot of people, it's like your weakness is your strength. And I think there are a lot of people who have had difficulties or challenges, and they've used that to change the world, I suppose, or to...
I think that if you've had it all too easy, then it all comes a bit of a shock when things don't go quite to plan. When you've had it fairly tough, then it makes you into a fighter. And I think when you're a fighter, then you have much more confidence and you're not knocked down as easily and you're braver.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the reasons. So when we then started with my 6 neighbours, and they lost weight, and we thought, right, let's go to the village hall. So I was working as a secretary at the time, and I went back to being a secretary after Tupperware. And then I decided to have these 30 posters printed. Now, these 30 posters, I mean, they were gross. They were bright yellow and black print, badly done. It cost me £8. Now, that in 1971 was a lot of money. You know, it's probably, I don't know, like £100 for 30 posters now. I mean, ridiculous amount. And so anyway, off we went and put them around our village. And on the first night, we had 29 people join. I put 30 posters up.
Wow, that's a good conversion rate. You don't get that anymore.
So it was very exciting, the village hall, and they all came along and they loved it because there was Weight Watchers out there was Slimming World already out there, but we were offering something different. It was Slimming and Good Grooming.
Were they the other 2 of the big 3 that people say?
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, we started, they came and more people came. And after 6 months, I gave up my job as a secretary and then started my classes around Leicestershire and took on extra people to run those classes. So by the time I got to, I obviously gave up my job, and by the time I got to about 1981, I'd got 50 classes running in Leicestershire every week.
Wow.
And then I was approached by IPC magazines to run classes for them nationally. They had a magazine, IPC run, they published Woman's Own, Woman and Home, vast stable of titles. And they had one called Successful Slimming. And they wanted clubs to go with their magazine. And so they approached me and said, we'd like to buy your clubs. We'd like you to run it. And I said, well, I'm happy to do it nationally, but I'm not prepared to sell you my clubs in Leicestershire because they're mine. And so after much, much resistance, they gave in and said, okay. And so that's what we did. But 6 months later, I said, okay, you can buy them. And this is the price. And it was 52,000, which is quite a lot of money in those days.
You buy 100% of the company?
Yes. Yeah, I sold it to them. And they kept me on as managing director. I negotiated a 5-year deal, and they paid me a good salary, gave me a company car. It was all very exciting. And so then we there started a new adventure. It was not a terribly pleasant adventure because being owned by a big multinational company was not fun. And I swore I would never be owned by our company again.
What wasn't fun? Because we've been approached a few times to sell or sell equity. I'm pretty clear I don't want to do it, but my business partner's a bit softer on it. What were the downsides?
I think in your case, it's very different from how it was in my case. First of all, I had no experience of that sort of thing, and I just saw it as, wow, what an opportunity. And it was, for the first time in my life, I felt important. And I think my pride and ego got the better of me, to be honest. Also, my marriage was going through a really bad time. And so when they offered this money, it actually gave me an opportunity for my husband and I to part company totally amicably. And I was able to buy a house with what I sold the business for. He was able to stay in the family home. And we stayed friends forever until very sadly he died 3 years ago. But it was, so it gave me that. It gave me that opportunity, which I don't regret. But we can come back to the other business later on. And then the classes were run over the country, but then, of course, the miners' strike hit, and the whole country went into depression in the early 70s. The early 80s, I should say. And it became very, very difficult. We just weren't making enough money. And it wasn't IPC's fault, the fact that they got fed up with that. It wasn't making enough money, but it wasn't. I'd put myself into a job that I was way underqualified for. I must have been bonkers to think that I could do that job. And I tried to do everything myself. I was working 80 hours a week. It was crazy. But at the end of it, they closed it down in 1985. They closed it down. I was still under contract, so I got enough money to keep me going. And then I went freelance, which was just bliss. But you know what? It took me 5 years to get over it. Because when something is so tough, and there were some lovely people in there, don't get me wrong, but there was my boss particularly. He was the chairman of my particular company. He was not the most pleasant of people. And it was really hard. Did
it feel like you weren't running your own business anymore? You were kind of just had a job?
Yeah. And it was like I was trying to make something work that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
And so I was on a hiding to nothing. And
did you have much autonomy or control, or had that all gone as well?
No, I didn't really have any control. If they said jump, I had to jump. And there was one occasion where the only way we could keep a class going was for somebody to go down there and run it. Well, it was on the south coast. I was in Leicester. I was already working 8 hours a week, and I had to drive down there, run the class, and then drive back. I got back at sort of 1 o'clock in the morning and go back to work at sort of 9 o'clock the next morning. And it was that kind of thing. I did that for about 3 or 4 weeks until we found somebody else to take the class. And it was that kind of craziness. But then you do that at that stage in your life. Lessons learned.
What were the lessons learned?
Well, the lessons learned are, yes, don't sell all your company. Don't jump into something that you are not ready for.
Or just see the money and none of the downsides, yeah.
And also the fact that, there were so many other things going on in my life. My marriage was failing. And it was just tough. It was just tough. But you toughen up from those sort of situations. And when you've gone through a really tricky one, then you are stronger coming out the other side. And so I just ran my own classes then for quite a while. And then amazingly, so that was 85, 86, it finished. And then I was hit by a gallstone problem. And I've suddenly found myself really ill. Now, I'd met somebody else. There was nobody else involved when my first husband and I split up, but I met Mike, who I am now married to and have been for 33 years. But I met Mike some 9 months after my first husband and I split up. And I had my gallstone problem at the same time through all the trauma of breaking with IPC and all of that. That relationship had gone out the window. And so I was now going to have to sell the house. My company car had gone. I'd had a broken marriage. I'd had a broken relationship. And then I was really ill. Gallstone problem, in hospital, really, really poorly, didn't know what to do. While I was in hospital, I saw an advertisement for a book called Power for Living. And it was basically an advertisement endorsed by Cliff Richard, Lord Tony Pandy, and Gerald Williams, the tennis commentator. And they were basically saying, if you want to find power for living, send for this free book. And, ask God to come into your life. And so I'd always been, as a child, I'd been brought up going to church, but I had sort of been detached from it. But then suddenly I thought, well, goodness me, I am here on my knees of my life because I've made such a mess of it. And so I sent for the book, and it came back about 10 days later. And it was the day that I was going into hospital for a cholecystogram to see where my gallstones were. And there I was reading this book, and I just felt it was written just for me. And it was written in such a sort of easy to read way about Christianity and how if God's in the centre of your life. Just leave everything to him. And that night I got home and I read the rest of the book, and there was a prayer in there which I got out of bed and I knelt at the side of the bed and prayed it for all I was worth. And it just basically saying, I'm really sorry for all the bad things I've done. I've done plenty. Excuse me, my voice. That I really want Jesus to come into my life, and I want to live my life your way, not my way. And that's the principle of it. Got back into bed. I just felt completely washed through and completely new and revitalized going forward. And I felt as though God was saying, I am now the chairman of your life. Just follow me. And this massive surge of confidence came upon me. And the next day, I felt that, in fact, the same night, I felt God say to me, I should marry Mike. So even though we'd split up, we'd been together for 2-3 years, no, split up now, he said, you should marry Mike. And so I waited till the Friday. We went out for lunch. He'd been back to help me while I was so poorly. And on the Sunday night, he came round that weekend after my conversion, if you like, on the Friday, on the pretext of wanting to see the dogs. And I said, and he said how much he was missing me. And I said, I'm really missing you too. And we got back together. And I said, let's go out on Friday. Well, he might have said that. And we went out for dinner. And halfway through the dinner, I said, shall we get married?
Well, you proposed.
I proposed to him. And he said yes. We had been engaged before, but I'd broken it off. And that July we got married. And we've been together now we've been married 33 years. But going back to the gallstone problem, the only way I was to avoid surgery, because I was wrapping up this IPC business, was to go on a low-fat diet. And it had the absolutely transformationary type of effect on my shape. I just lost my huge jodhpur thighs. Only lost 6 pounds. Absolutely transformed my shape by eating a low-fat diet. And it was from that I then created the hip and thigh diet, because I gave it, my people in my classes were saying, what has happened to your body shape? And so I said, well, I'm on this low-fat diet. I said, well, can we be on it as well? They did it. They lost weight. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the hip and thigh diet was written. It came out in 1988, and it became a monumental international bestseller. Sold 2 million copies.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Did you have a good deal with your publishers on that?
No. Well, because I had it was the 4th book that I'd published. I think my advance was £750. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter because
of the brand, the reach,
the numbers involved were just huge.
Yeah. It
stayed at number 1 for the whole year.
Wow.
It stayed in the charts for 9 years.
Wow.
It was just bonkers. I wrote a sequel to it, and then the publisher was saying, "Well, what's your next book? What's the next book?" And they, after the first serialization, which I sold the serialization for the first one, because interestingly, contact from IPC, and I said, I just need to get serialization sold. She said, well, I know somebody at the Sunday Express. Would you like me to introduce you? And I said, yes, great. So he rang and I said, I've written this book that's going to change the eating habits of the nation. And so we were broke. We were absolutely broke, because what happens is you have a best-selling book, you don't get any money for 10 months. And we were really sort of on our uppers. But suddenly they were offering £10,000 for serialisation, which was life-transforming for us. And then people were vying for my next book, my next serialisation rights. And I was just, yep. And it got to the point where by 1993, Mail on Sunday, Sunday Express, both wanted this little book that I was doing as a shape-up for summer. They wanted the serialisation so badly. I said, look, sealed offers by 12 noon on Thursday, with your best offer and 12 pages of colour advertising, because I've missed a big chunk out here because we started the diet and fitness clubs, but I'll come back to that. It's another story. And so then they came back with their offers, which I'll tell you later.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm tracking this journey. I'm trying to work out, does Rosemary have a grand master plan through all this, or does life take her on this journey and she just rolls with the opportunities that come? Which one is it?
It rolled with the opportunities that came.
Yeah.
Because with the hip and thigh diet, it being number one in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Canada, I went to all those places on book tour with Mike. And it was just amazing. You suddenly felt, whoa, this is extraordinary. And so we did that by the time we got to about 1991, 92, it was just unbelievable. I couldn't write books quickly enough. And then I was asked to do a fitness video. I had my own series on BBC daytime every week. It was just like everything. I contacted the BBC and said, got an idea for a TV series. Are you interested? Well, I was everywhere. I was in the front covers of magazines. It was bonkers. And so they said, yeah, come and see us. And I was on air in 4 months, my own series.
And were you the sort of person that would just take all these opportunities or select them carefully?
I usually sought them, so I approached the BBC.
Yeah.
And once I knew that I had a diet that worked, it gave me enormous confidence. And of course, I was a fitness teacher. I'd been a fitness teacher for 20 years by this time. And so I was able to stand in front of a camera and teach. It was a bit scary, but I was able to do that. So in effect, all the skills, even back from doing the cordon bleu cookery course, when it came to doing cookery, I could do that. When it came to doing fitness, I'd been doing that for 20 years, I could do that. When it came to writing, I could do that. And so it all seemed to sort of fall into place like the perfect jigsaw. And it was such fun. And I was earning so much money. It was
You look pretty happy about that.
It was extraordinary how suddenly the tide changed.
And how long do you reckon in your business career before the tide changed, you started going, wow, this is really working?
Well, the hip and thigh diet.
And how long are you in your business journey at that point?
By the time that came out, 17 years.
Wow, so they say 10 to 20 years to be an overnight success. You're
precisely,
about right.
Exactly right. People will say about an artist, that they'll look at a picture and they'll say, how long did it take you to paint that? And how much was it fetched? What price on it? Yes, but they've taken all that experience to be able to do that. Their whole life
it took to paint that.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was very much, you build up your reputation, you build up your brand, you build up the trust between all the newspapers and your publisher. And I always delivered on time, did the best I could. I never, ever wanted to not do my best. So that was really important to me. And then an amazing thing happened. So it got to 1992. I was doing my TV things. And suddenly there was an advertisement for a great big country mansion in Quorn, in Leicestershire, 147 acres, massive Georgian house. And I thought I would really like that. And
we were looking at it.
No,
not that one. Oh, right.
And then, so anyway, I managed to persuade Mike to go and have a look at it. And there were about 10 other people viewing it. It was very economically priced at the time. So we went and had a look at it. And as I say, about 10 people before us had been that day. Well, the place was a wreck. And you suddenly realise this is completely impractical. There's no way we'd want to live there. So what was I even thinking of? And so we came away thinking no more about it. Well, anyway, about 3 months later, it was back in the paper again, price reduced. And I just thought to myself, that house has got my name on it. And I rang the estate agent and I said, I don't know what we're going to use it for. I don't know what we're going to buy it with, but we're going to buy that house, so just bear with me. I said, okay, wait and see. A school had been trying to buy it, but that had fallen through. Anyway, I thought about it. And a whole week of sleepless nights. And then on the Saturday, the penny dropped. We would launch Rosemary Conley Diet and Fitness Clubs as a franchise nationally, and that would be our training centre. So the next morning I woke Mike up. He was about to drive me up to Harrogate to do a TV thing. And I said, I think I mapped out our future. And so I told him, he said, wow, that sounds really exciting. Tell me all about it as we drive up. And we did, and the fitness trainer who'd been working with us, we rang her and said, how do you fancy moving up from Basingstoke and coming up to Leicester and doing this? And she was very excited about it. And so, to cut a long story short, we did a bit of a trial. And by the April of 1993, we bought Cornhouse. We launched the clubs. It was a phenomenal success. We sold 67 franchises in the first year.
Wow.
And it was just bonkers. So exciting. But what we were doing was everything that my books, my diets, my fitness videos, all of that was now going out to the people. And every single one of our franchisees was qualified, and everybody who worked for them was qualified to cheat exercise to music. And that was a very high bar for anybody else to meet.
Yeah.
And nobody else did. And that's what we did. And so then when it came to the serialisation of Shape Up for Summer and the Express and the Mail, that's why I wanted the 12 pages of advertising to launch the clubs. And the Express came back with a 6-figure sum, but they couldn't do the advertising. And the Mail came back with slightly less, but with the 12 page of advertising. And that started it off.
And that advert, or those adverts worked well, did they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We just put where all the classes were all across the country.
Yeah.
We listed them. It's phenomenal. It flew. Absolutely flew. And it was the start of a 20-year adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tell us about that 20-year adventure. Give us the radio version, the radio in it, the 3-minute song version.
Right. 3 years later, we had a magazine. Rosemary Conley Diet and Fitness magazine. That lasted 16 years. And then we had, we had our own TV channel towards the end. And so many different things. Licensing products. Unbelievable. It was such an adventure.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when it came to 2014, about 2013, things began to get tricky because the whole world was doing fitness. You could go down to your local leisure centre and get a free class. There was the whole internet thing, of course. It completely, I started with no mobile phones, there was no computers.
People do workouts from videos and apps on phones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the whole world just changed. And instead of people queuing up to go to the classes, now the franchisees were saying, we're just not getting the numbers in.
Yeah.
And we lost 25% of our franchisees in 2013.
Wow.
And that was a massive, massive hit for us. And by the end of 2013 to the beginning of 2014, beginning of 2014, we were about to go to press with our next issue of the magazine, and we hadn't paid the bill for the last one. And my MD came in and said, we haven't got enough money to pay. And I said, that's it. We're calling you today.
So it literally took a year and then over.
Yeah, yes, the loss of the franchisees and the economic climate and the fact that magazine publishing was doing this, because we all know that printed media is disaster. Plus, there was the horse meat crisis. We had ready meals. 20% of our sales went for that. It was just like it was meant to all come to an end.
Wow.
So it was horrible.
Yeah. Why was it horrible?
Because people, you have creditors, you can't pay everybody, people got nasty, staff got nasty, You know, and you think, oh, come on, we were a family. This is really hard. We put all our available money in to prop it up. And then you just have to say, that's it. That's it. So that was that.
Looking back, because it's easier looking back, is there anything you could have done differently to maybe predict the signs, pivot, change your business model? Or do you just think, no, that was meant to be, that was a chapter of the life that we move on from?
I don't know what we could have done differently.
No.
To be honest. I really don't. You know, yes, the TV channel was an expense. It didn't earn money. I mean, that was an unfortunate one because when we first launched it, we were told by the advertising agency Fox that, oh yes, well, you only need to get, you know, if you get 100,000 viewers, then you'll be able to earn really good money. By the time we did get 100,000, you need $1 million. So we were getting advertisements for Mercedes on our site, and we were getting like 30p. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And so that just didn't work, sadly.
TV channels are really expensive.
They are really expensive.
Yeah.
And it was a great idea. We loved doing it. The members loved it. The franchisees loved it. We got a great archive from it, which is for sure. But sadly, it just didn't.
And was that quite a drain on the cash flow of the business then?
Well, yes, it was, but without a doubt it was. But you sort of do things because you think, well, this is all part of our USP, you know, so that was what it was. So when he went into administration, then, of course, we were meeting with people who were interested in buying it. Our administrator was great. He was very kind. He understood. He was empathetic. He could see what sort of business we were. And some of the clubs, the franchisee was given, right, you can go off and do it on your own with no restrictions whatsoever. You can't use my name, but you can go off and do your own thing, keep all your money. And for many of them, that was great because they didn't have to pay us anymore. They'd already established their business. That was fantastic for them. Some of them wanted to be part of a group. So a company came in and took those away. And then another company came in and bought the online business. Rosemary Conley Online had been there for 10 years or so. They bought that plus the archive of the magazine and the TV. And they also took me on. And so there was me, one of our franchisees who was a consultant, Sarah Skelton, she came on board. And we, together with two completely new people, it was like an arranged marriage of 4 people. But we all got on really, really well. And that company still runs today. And we have loved that adventure. But then new adventures come along, and that's exciting too.
Was it like selling, essentially, your own name? You're almost like selling your own name?
Yeah, if there was one mistake I made, the administrator told me this afterwards. He said the one mistake you made was the fact that the company owned your name. You said you should have licensed your name to the company.
Right.
Because I had to sell my name. But the contract of negotiation was very interesting because I had to, in effect, I am free to go and do what I want as long as I'm not in competition. So that's fine. So I can't run an online weight loss club, for instance.
Yeah.
That suits me fine because as far as that is concerned, there are better people to do that who are more techie and so on.
Yeah.
And if you like, I've now reached a point in my life, I'm 72 now, that I actually want to change my career slightly. I still contribute to the online site. I do motivational minutes and every day and other stuff that we do. But I also I feel I want to sort of help older people like myself to stay healthy, to make the most of themselves, to enjoy getting older, to not be frightened of getting older, and to maximise their youth for as long as possible. And amazingly, an opportunity came along 18 months ago where, got it here, I've been using this gadget. This is a facial exercising gadget called a facial flex. And you stick it in your mouth like this. Oops, not like that. There we go. And basically it exercises 30 muscles from here to here.
Right.
And it was designed by a cosmetic surgeon who was he'd given skin grafts to burns victims, facial burns victims. And he wanted to get their muscles in their face working. And so he devised this device to get them to work. And in a month, they all started looking younger.
Yeah.
So their necks got firmer, their double chins receded, excuse me, and their jowls lifted, etc., etc. And so he thought, wow, I think there's a commercial opportunity here. Well, I was sent one in early 90s. And as you get older, you suddenly think, well, I think I'll use that now. And so I was using it every day. And then about 18 months ago, there was a feature in the Times that was, that's right, it's going to be 2 years now. There was a feature in the Times where the journalist was somewhat complimentary to how I looked. And I said, I use this gadget. And anyway, that just took off and we sold so many facial flex, and we sold it through online, you see.
And this
we
was,
still do.
This was post the administration. This is your new business model.
Yeah, this was all part of online.
Yeah.
So online sales just went crazy for Rosemary Online. And then when the guy in Belgium who we bought it off retired, he rang me 18 months ago personally and said, I would like to give you, not the company, I'd like to give you the opportunity, the distributorship of the facial flex, and then you can supply Rosemary Online, you can sell it in your own right, etc. And that's what we did. So Facial Toning Solutions Limited is my company, my husband and my company. And we sell these nationally. We supply Rosemary Online. We sell it through eBay. We sell it through Amazon Prime. And only recently we've had another article that went into the Telegraph, Saturday Telegraph magazine. And again, it just went boom. It works. It's non-surgical. It's natural. It's 100% natural. And it does help to hold one's face together.
Wow.
Same principle as going to the gym.
Yeah.
You know,
So
work
it's just
your muscles, they get stronger.
exercising, but for your face.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No one really thinks of exercising their face, do
No,
they?
no. I mean, there have been other methods, but nothing as... This is resistance exercising. You see, it isn't just about doing certain facial expressions.
Yeah.
This actually works the muscles. So it plumps up above the lip, it plumps up, it sort of lifts. It's the scaffolding underneath the skin. So, so it works.
And that is now your current business. That's what you're
Well,
doing all the time.
obviously Rosemary Online is that's the most important.
Yeah.
But facial flex is a sort of a sideline, so to speak, which is fun.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. I mean, it isn't a huge business, but it's fun. And I quite like that when you get to this stage of one's life.
Well, you've got to have fun doing what you love, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So
without a doubt.
50 years, nearly.
Nearly.
Sorry, I did.
Yes.
48, is it?
It's about 48 this year, yeah.
I feel privileged to sit here with you as someone who's been in business for so long and
That's nice.
ridden the peaks and the troughs of life, which I guess we're all going to have. So if you could summarise, what are the biggest things you've learned?
The biggest thing that I think people buy from people, because it's all about how you treat people, is that will see you that's what the fundamentals are about. Because even when we went into administration, the newspapers were amazingly kind to me because they knew me. They were sad. They were genuinely sad that what had been a fantastic business had not worked in the end, had to close. And that was all to the fact that we'd had a good relationship. I'd always been nice to them. And I think if you're nice to people, people will be nice to you. So I think that's the first thing you learn. Second thing that you learn is always try and deliver. Deliver on your promises, because if you can do that, if you're going to say you're going to deliver something on time, then do it. If you're going to say you'll do something, do it. I think all of those things are really important. So I think treat other people as you'd wish to be treated yourself.
Right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I believe, let me just check I've got this right. Your brand was one of the big three in the slimming, fitness, health. So there was Weight Watchers, Slimming World.
Yep.
And your brand, Rosemary Conley.
Yeah, Rosemary Conley Diet and Fitness Clubs. Yeah.
So that's amazing to be in the top 3 brands. I mean, if you're in the top 3 brands in, I don't know, the soft drinks, then your Coke, Pepsi, and so that's amazing because it is a huge industry. What do you think made your brand unique, maybe compared to the other 2, and that got you to be one of the top 3 biggest brands in that whole space?
I think that it was the fact that we did diet and fitness, and there was a brand behind it. I'd got a pedigree insofar as, my books had been revolutionary. They had been life transforming for so many people. I'd been sort of very privileged to be invited into people's homes on a daily basis to work out with them. So there was a name and a brand, and people knew me, hopefully liked me, otherwise they wouldn't have been working out with me, and trusted me. And all of those things was a big plus factor.
Yeah.
So when we launched Diet and Fitness Clubs, I know that the others were anxious, and Weight Watchers did try to do fitness, but it just didn't work. And it was of its time. And I remember Anne Widdicombe saying in a feature about it after we'd gone into administration, nothing lasts forever. She did very well. She had a great time doing it. Nothing lasts forever. And I think that is very valid. And I think actually it was meant to be. I think and I've had such a ball doing it. But also there were other exciting things that I haven't mentioned. One was the fact that I was on Dancing on Ice in 2012.
I've got a little question about that.
Yeah.
There's also some big red book there.
Oh yeah, that was good fun.
Harry, are we allowed a quick cutaway of that?
Yeah, sure.
Well, whenever you're ready, Harry. Yeah. But that's amazing as well.
That was fantastic. That was 2001 or 2, something like that.
Yeah.
But that was amazing and fantastic.
So how was Dancing on Ice? Because that's a question I've got.
Right, Dancing on Ice. I was asked to audition about 2006, 5, 6, something like that. And I'd never ice skated in my life. I used to skate in my socks on a wooden floor when I was a kid, but never had any skates on my feet. And so I thought, oh yes, let's go and do this. So anyway, I went and I was in my 60s then, and I'd gone to Nottingham to have a lesson or 2 before the audition. I was absolutely hopeless, absolutely beyond hopeless. So anyway, I didn't get through the audition. Then I auditioned again. Then Universal Studios came to me to headhunt me from the BBC for doing videos. And they were paying me a bucket load of money. Excuse me. They were paying me a bucket load of money to go and do 3 videos. And I thought, you know what? I can't take the risk here. So I signed the contract, didn't skate for the 3 years, and then went back to it. In fact, the week after I'd recorded my last video, I was back on the ice having lessons. And I still wasn't very good. And I auditioned again and again. 3 times, no. And then Dr. Hilary Jones, who I knew well because we'd interviewed him and we'd become friends because of our magazine, and also our TV channel, etc. So he was on. And I said, anybody else, Hilary? And I'd have been so jealous. I said, I so want to do it. So anyway, the next time he came up to Cornhouse, he said, right, and I said, this is a DVD of what I can do. And he said, send your DVD, write to Christopher Dean and Jane Torville and tell them how much you want to do it. And I never gave up. And I suddenly got a phone call in September 2011 to say, you're in. And it was just like the best news I've ever had in my life. It was just extraordinary. Business news. I mean, I'll talk about finding you pregnant and that sort of thing. That was very exciting. But it was just phenomenal to go and then I didn't believe it, because you have business in life, you have disappointment. You think things are going to happen, and at the last minute they don't. I've been on TV programs. I've got up at 4:45 in the morning, travelled down so-and-so to go on a TV and not got on. So that's what life is like that sometimes. I didn't believe I was on Dancing on Ice until the second I skated on the day, because if I'd broken my ankle at lunchtime that day, I wouldn't have been on. So suddenly I was on, and it was for real. And it was phenomenal. It was beyond my wildest dreams. It was like waking up in heaven. I had the most fabulous, gorgeous skating partner, 37 years younger than me, beautiful person inside and out. No, my husband's yes, it's fine. And in fact, I'm skating with him today.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're such good mates. I still skate with him. We're filming this time next week. We'll be filming a little film that I want to do. And I had the time of my life during that 6 months. And it was during that time that my marketing director asked if he could be managing director, which I was happy for him to do. So I wasn't now in control of the business. Well, I was, because Mike and I were the owners of it, but nevertheless, I wasn't in charge of the day-to-day stuff. And I think the dynamics changed within the business, to be honest, during that time. And then I came back 6 months later and carried on. But I was getting older. I was 65 when I did Dancing on Ice. And it was one of those things where maybe it's time that I step back a bit. And then within a year, we're in administration. So it wasn't anybody's fault. It was just one of those things.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I did that was incredibly exciting was I'm patron of a charity called STEPS Conductive Education Centre. Children with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. They go there from birth to 5 years old. And this conductive education transforms these children's lives, because children, it all started, STEPS started because of my vicar's grandson was born with cerebral palsy. And his parents were told he wouldn't even be able to turn over in bed. Well, now, his name was Sean. Now Sean is, I think, 28. He's been to Brooksby College. He's able to speak. He's able to feed himself. He's able to walk. Yeah, okay, he's not able to work, but he has a quality of life. And that was because of conductive education. And his parents and grandparents and other families decided, let's create a Peto Institute, Peto in Hungary, institute over here, equivalent of. And they asked me if I'd be patron of it. And we had different locations where STEPS was held. A room in a school, no, sorry, you've got to move. A room in another school, sorry, you've got to move, etc. So by the time we lost 4 locations for STEPS, we then said, we've got to get a building. So we set about raising funds to buy a building. And we found a building, an old school, and everybody was happy. The church owned it. We could have it. It didn't matter how long it took us to raise the money. We'd raised 90,000. It was 235,000. And then suddenly the vicar came to see me and said, I'm sorry, but you can't have it anymore. I said, you can't do that. So I just burst into floods of tears. I said, we've raised 90,000. Yes, but you've not got your lottery funding. You're never going to be able to raise the money. We're going to sell it for building. And I said, you can't do this. I said, look, give us till, this is March 2006. Give us till Christmas this year. If we haven't raised the money, we'll pay you double the rent. And if we have raised the money, we're good to go. So she said, okay, but the price has gone up to 250,000. Okay, fine. So we set about raising the funds. I had a Bentley. I raffled it. It was relatively old and worth about 8,000. I raffled it, £1 a ticket, no other prizes, raised 26,000.
Wow.
We did a big sponsored walk in our local park, raised 23,000. Various donation here, donation there. So by the time we got to Christmas 2006, we'd raised 280,000. We drew the raffle on telly. Central TV said, why don't you do a makeover and we'll follow it on the news? And so it, like Challenge Annika type of thing. And I said, absolutely, let's do it. So the next year, my friend and now chairman of the trustees, John Montague, and the architect, Mark Jeremy, they and I put together the plan. And in two-week periods, we had the TV cameras there, and 130 companies gave us over £500,000 worth of goods and services to transform and renovate the whole school.
Wow.
And if there's one thing, what's the best thing that ever happened in my life, in my whole career, whatever, the most satisfying, that was it. That was fun. I was cooking for everybody. I blagged all the food. I had this mobile kitchen, got all the food from, Tesco, everywhere, gave it to us. And I think all the builders put weight on because they were eating so well, breakfast, lunch, dinner. It was just fab. I absolutely loved it. So those are the two very exciting things that happened.
Wow.
Yes.
So I'm picking up a theme here, Rosemary. You said earlier, fighter. It doesn't seem like you take no for an answer. When people turn you down, reject you, or you can't get on a show or whatever, doesn't sound like you're very good at giving up.
I would never give up. I think it's one of those characteristics you either have or you don't, but I think you can learn it.
Do you ever doubt yourself?
Oh, yeah, of course. I think we all do. But I think there was, as far as Dancing on Ice was, I have a prayer list, and I pray for all sorts of people every morning. And this is 2 sides of A4. This is not a small list, okay? And I put on it that I wanted to do Dancing on Ice. And I said to Mike, when I'd gone through, 3 turndowns, and I said, I've actually removed it off my list. He said, don't. You really want to do it. Keep it on your list. And 2 weeks later,
wow.
I got it was amazing, wasn't it? So I think it's really important that if you have a goal, you don't let go of your dream. Yeah. Because having a dream will drive you forward. Yeah. Don't ever, ever give up. And no, a no now doesn't mean a no forever. And that's the other thing. If you really want to do something, keep persevering. Yeah. And if a door closes, I know it's an old cliche, but if it's because there's a better door to open for you somewhere else or a different time. Yeah. But you have to be realistic as well. I think all of those things really matter. Yeah. But I'm so blessed. I have the most fabulous family. I have a wonderfully loving husband. I have a fabulous daughter and grandson. And I am so blessed in my life. And whilst there've been, yes, there's been some tough times, but my goodness me, I'm blessed. And
still got a lot of fight in you left, I guess.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I love my life.
You're still passionate about business and doing everything you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And this week even, I've got 2 days when I'm at Ragdale Hall on one day where I'm teaching exercise and teaching
you still do that
fitness.
Actively, all your health and fitness?
Yeah, and I still do my 2. Tonight I've got 2 classes. So I'm going skating this afternoon, and then I'm doing my 2 classes tonight. That's not normal, I hasten to add.
And how, forgive me for asking this, but I've got to, because there will be plenty of older listeners. How do you maintain so much health, fitness and energy at your age?
I eat healthily. I stay slim because I want to. I want to stay slim more than I want to have the wrong foods. So I have my breakfast, lunch and dinner. I don't eat anything in between. I amazingly still have tea in my coffee. It's all right.
The dog put you off.
The dog put me off, yeah, exactly. I still have sugar in my tea.
Is that the 5-minute warning, is it?
I still have sugar in my tea. Yeah. But I don't have sugar any other way.
No.
So I don't have puddings, I don't have biscuits, cakes, that sort of thing. And so I work quite hard at staying slim. I go to the gym, have a personal trainer.
Yeah.
I do ballet once a week, personal trainer.
Right. Do you think having a personal trainer is important?
It drives you much harder than it does doing it yourself. Oh,
yeah.
Do I enjoy it?
Even the trainer yourself needs a personal trainer. The mentor needs a mentor.
Absolutely right. When I did all of my fitness videos, I did over 30 of them, I had a consultant, Mary Morris, who's a supremo in teaching fitness. She was my fitness consultant for most of them. And she was our head of training for most of the time we had diet and fitness clubs.
Yeah.
And you always need somebody who has more expertise than you do. Don't think you know everything. Nobody knows everything, and nobody is good at everything. We must recognise our strengths and our weaknesses. And I'm president of Young Enterprise, and tomorrow night I'm going to see the winners of Leicestershire go to the area finals, regional finals in Nottingham tomorrow night, with the most incredible invention. I love it. And I really hope that they will go to absolutely all the way to the Europeans. I hope they'll win the nationals and then go to the Europeans, because this is a life-changing product that they've got. And I love all that. I love seeing other people coming forward, but I teach them. When I speak to Young Enterprise, it is about, realise your strengths, realise your weaknesses. Don't expect to be good at everything, because nobody is. And I certainly know my weaknesses, and I also know my strengths.
What are they? Can you list them out? We've got to be honest about them.
I'm motivated.
Yeah.
I have energy. I love people. I like motivating people. I'm good at encouraging people. I will always say thank you, and I will always say well done, and I will never take credit for something I haven't done myself. I will always give glory to the person whose idea it was. I'm very happy speaking in front of a camera. I'm very happy speaking in front of a crowd. Those are my strengths. I'm confident in that sort of area.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm too bad a boss. But I'm sure I have lots of things that really irritate my PA. But yeah, I'm quite energetic.
Yeah.
Because I'm very happy, and that's the way I am. Always have been as a kid.
And then the weaknesses, which, by the way, just before you answer this, I think a lot of people look at weaknesses over there, strengths over there. But I think there's a yin-yang relationship with strengths and weaknesses. Because let's say you're somewhat of an analytical genius. That obviously could have major upsides if you're analysing deals, engineering, software, but that can also be a weakness. So I think a lot of people's strengths and weaknesses are sometimes the same thing, just the sort of the polar ends of it. But anyway, I don't want to take the heat off you. What are your weaknesses, Rosemary?
My weaknesses are I'm not at all academic. And so...
Which is also your strength. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
My strength in that is the fact that I'm able to deliver something in a very understandable, non-academic way.
Yeah.
So in that, it has been a strength, but I'm not academic. I cannot memorize. I can remember, but I can't memorize.
Einstein said he just used to get everything out of books.
Yes.
Yeah. He didn't take claim for memorizing anything.
No, but if and sometimes you're doing a TV thing and they say, right, you need to say this.
Yeah. Like
a TV commercial or whatever. And, this is what you need to say. And you've got to be kidding me. I can't remember that. I will not memorise that.
Yeah.
I can memorise, but I have to do it like 500 times because I had something in my brain not working, I think. And it's always been the same.
Yeah.
So I can't memorise. I'm a bit impulsive.
A bit.
Insofar as I just think, yeah, that's what we're going to do.
And that's both a strength and a weakness, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. And I will be open when I went to Cornhouse. Mike, he really, really tested me because we looked at another dozen houses before we bought Cornhouse, and we had to test it and have the first 3 franchisees launch and be a massive success before it's okay. And I was able to go, and I am very patient. I am a patient person. But controlling, it's a weakness, but a strength. because if you're going to run something, you've got to be in control. And so I think that's a strength and a weakness.
Yeah.
I say I can be impatient. I can be patient. You know, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all linked. I watched recently a Harvard documentary on Alex Ferguson. He talked a lot about control. Had to have control. Probably most successful football manager ever.
Yeah.
So I guess that could be a weakness if you become a bit controlling, but a strength because you run your ship.
I think that I let go of some of the control at the end of the business.
And was that good or bad?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did you do it?
Because I thought it was the right thing to do.
That can't be wrong then, if you thought it was the right thing to do.
And I at the end, and I look back on it 5 years now, and think it was the right thing to happen. So who am I to criticise that?
Yeah.
You know, without a doubt. So, and I speak. I have an absolute open heart, head. I say it as it is. I'm much too open. I tell anybody anything.
Yeah.
But you could, if you said to me, I'm going to tell you something in absolute confidence, you absolutely would know. I would not tell anybody. So, got that too.
Okay. So, in a moment, we'll do the quick fire if that's okay.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But that big red book.
Oh, yes.
So, there aren't that many people I've visited.
I'll pick it up.
Yeah, please. And I've visited OBEs, MBEs, all sorts of amazing people. But I think you may be the first on our whole 400 episodes to have one of these red books. Yeah,
well, this is it. And it is, you have to wait quite a long time after it to get this.
Oh, really?
They don't give it to you on the night. It comes about 8 months later.
No, yeah.
But it is the most extraordinary thing. So there we are, 2002, 3rd of January. And it was presented to me at our Slimmer of the Year Awards.
Was it a complete shock?
Absolute total.
Yeah. And how did you feel?
Extraordinary. It was something that I'd really... It's funny, isn't it? Right at the very beginning, 1971, when I was starting my first classes, and I thought to myself, and I think obviously I'd had my first class, it had gone well or something, and I thought to myself, wow, maybe one day I'll be famous and I'll be on This Is Your Life. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
You could think something like that. So anyway, it was a complete and utter shock, and it was just extraordinary. And so anyway, lots of people that were... my head PA and a secretary.
Yeah.
And these were this guy was the first guy that I went on Radio Nottingham with.
Wow. Where
I did my trial for, he's a bigwig now in radio. And it just made, it's just fabulous. So that was that. And then I did get a CBE.
Yes.
And if you pass it to me, it's just on the piano there.
Oh, careful, Harry. Careful, Harry.
Next one along. No.
The one in
that was Freedom of the City of Leicester.
Thank you.
I was the first woman to be given the Freedom of Leicester.
Wow.
Yes, that was quite exciting.
Have you used that? You just wander around at night?
You take your sheep down High Street. It was very exciting.
Yeah.
A bit daunting and extraordinary. Because the people like Richard Attenborough, David Attenborough, they're previous ones.
Right.
And it's not, they're not done every year. Anyway, that was CBE, and that was given to me in 2004.
Wow.
For services to the fitness and diet industries.
Ah.
So that's that was,
have you ever worn it?
Quite I wear it because I'm a deputy lieutenant as well. And when there were certain sort of ceremonial occasions where it's appropriate to wear it. For instance, when I do a citizenship ceremony. It's a massive... I've been a deputy lieutenant for 20 years.
Yeah.
So I went through this sort of massive phase of deputy lieutenant in 99, Freedom of the City 2001, This Is Your Life 2002, CB 2004. It was just like, whoa. It was just extraordinary.
Yeah.
So it was very, very lovely. A massive privilege. And I feel incredibly fortunate. So I've loved what I've done. What I've done has helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
I get that. But I've been the one that's been the biggest sort of beneficiary insofar as the fulfilment of a dream. And I'm grateful for that.
Great.
Praise God for it.
Yeah. So should we do the quick fire?
Yep.
By the way, you can answer them as long as you want or as short as you want.
Okay.
So best advice you ever received?
A no now doesn't mean a no forever.
Love it. The worst advice you ever received?
You're not going to do that. You can't do that. You're never going to manage that.
Is there one thing in the world...
That's not really advice though, is it?
Well, I guess it is. Or, that's risky, you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, that's too hard, that's too expensive, all that. I think it's that kind of like free, flippant advice from people around you, unsolicited advice.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
Great, love it.
All right,
yeah.
Okay.
Is there one thing in the world that you think's really wrong that you would like to see changed?
Well, without a doubt, the plastics and the global warming and all of those things, we have really got to shape up. We have got to make a difference here.
Yeah.
And it's somewhat easier for somebody at my time in life to think, well, that's going to be somebody else's problem, but it so isn't.
Yeah.
And I think God bless David Attenborough, because he has, and Prince Charles, I think, because in 1973 he recorded about plastics are bad and they're going to harm the planet. And then David Attenborough doing his films that people have really taken notice, and all the youngsters have really heard it. And we need to do that.
Yeah.
Take note. Take action.
Okay. So I don't often ask this question, and it does go around a lot on podcasts, but I'd like to ask it to you because I do think it's relevant. When did you quit that job? You said before, what age were you then? When you quit that job after 6 months in to kind of go on your own for the first time. How old were you then?
What, to go on?
Right at the start, you were taking us through your journey.
Oh, right,
and
okay.
About 6 months in, you were able to quit your job.
Oh, right, that was SAG days, Slimming and Good Grooming days. Yeah.
So how old were you?
25.
Okay. So what advice would you give your 25-year-old self if you could go back and have a quick chat, maybe here on the sofa with your 25-year-old self?
Follow your dream. Absolutely follow your dream. Believe in yourself. And you have no idea what you are capable of. If I had known when suddenly hip and thigh took off like it did, that what was going to happen, I wouldn't have believed that. And I honestly believe that if you have faith and have faith in yourself, you can achieve more than you ever dreamed of.
You're definitely motivating me when I go back in the car. I'm going to get on the work on the back. Right, finally then, this podcast.
Oh, there's one thing I want to say,
no,
sorry.
Please, no, go for it.
And one thing that my husband said to me, because I've been writing my autobiography and sort of saying things to him about it, and I said, I always believed in myself. He said, that is so important. He said, not many people do that. And he said, but to be able to say, I believed in myself, that is critical.
So how can someone believe in themselves then? Because like you said, not everyone does. And you're saying you need to, it's critical. So how can someone believe in themselves more?
Just believe in yourself. I mean, I don't think if something comes from within, but you've got to be you. Don't try and be somebody else. We all want to look at motivational gurus and we take on board what they say and we learn from them and we grow from them and we learn, but then we're steering that way because that's how we want to be. We want to be more successful. We want to be this or that or the other or more. We gravitate naturally to those people, I think. Richard Denny was somebody that I was massively respectful
Yeah,
of.
I studied a lot of him. But
Did you?
10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Selling to Win, I think he wrote. And
Dare to be Great
Yeah.
was my introduction. And I listened to that. It was audio tapes. Just in 1988, 89, my hip and thigh dart had just hit the headlines. And I happened to meet his first wife at somewhere, and she said, I'll send you my husband's tapes. And I read those, and that completely blew me away. It transformed the way, it just opened my eyes to thinking, well, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's about going the further. It's about doing more, giving extra service, being nice to people. People buy from people. All of those things I learned from him. And he became a friend.
Yeah.
He very sadly died a couple of years ago. But he was...
It is sad. I interviewed Tony Buzan, who did all the mind mapping, and not long after that, he passed away.
Did he?
Yeah.
It's tough, isn't it? But
You
Richard,
definitely have to live your life, don't you?
Yeah, you really do. And Richard, his business had gone down at some point. When he heard that my business had gone down, he visited me at home.
Right.
To keep me up.
Well, it's nice that you know when things are hard, there are people that care.
Yeah. He was amazing. Really lovely chap.
So this podcast has a theme of disruptive, and I think you completely disrupted your space, your market, your niche. What does that word mean to you, disruptive? It's got the T-shirt and
There you
everything.
go. Disruptive. Well, it makes you think differently, that you think you're on a path down a certain track, and then certainly something comes along and it challenges you. And I think we need to be challenged. And whether it be, the vicar coming in telling me that the price had gone up and we're under pressure for steps, etc. And all that did was motivate us to achieve 10 times more than we would have done otherwise. And so disruption can be very, very positive. And I would see it as that.
Right. You've been lovely. Thanks for inviting us to your home.
You're very welcome.
I've had a great time. And thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. It really has, Rob. Thank you. If you enjoyed the interview, like and subscribe.